Two balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. This is one back. Walk the ball. Chris Taylor.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into DodgerHeads Live, presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined tonight by Matthew Moreno. A two-game sweep. The Dodgers suffer at the hands of the Padres. This was, I don't know what to say, Matt. Clayton Kershaw was terrible. The bullpen, I guess was okay. Brent Honeywell, who last night might have been the best reliever in the bullpen, struggled. We got Kopech. We get to survive and be happy about that. We got some positive injury updates. I guess we can look forward to that, but let's not jump ahead, Matt. Tonight was rough. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah, I think you and I are going to have to wear this one. We were on with everybody last night, live show. You and I were planned for the live show tonight, and it's back-to-back losses. So our apologies to everybody who's joining us, and if you're listening after, it was rough. I know you and I were kind of texting before the game started, just mapping things out, and I sort of jokingly it was half joking, like, hey, there was, going to be a sweep tonight anyway, and I kind of just had a little bit of bad feeling. It's odd because Kershaw historically does pitch well against the Padres in his career, and especially at Petco Park, but I feel like they're also a team that can, if he's not on, then they really punish him and make him have to earn everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get into Clayton Kershaw and all the stuff that comes with that. But this was a game that, from the get-go, it felt like, all right, things started off kind of decently. Kershaw would have been a 1-2-3 inning, if not from an error from Gavin Lux, which was kind of one of the stories of this one. But obviously, at the end of the day for Kershaw, the results after a first start that in some ways was encouraging, 6 strikeouts in 4 innings tonight, 3 2/3, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk. Obviously, the 3 earned runs a little bit misleading in part because he was the reason for one of those being an unearned run. 7 runs total in 3 2/3. I think there's 2 camps, and I'm excited to hear. Not excited. I'm interested, I should say, to hear the chat's thoughts on this one because I think we're going to get a wide range. What do you make of Kershaw? Because I think there's multiple paths you could take. On one hand, it's his second start back from major shoulder surgery. He came back sooner than maybe everybody expected, other than Clayton Kershaw had hoped. The second, and so maybe there's a little bit of like, hey, he's rusty. The command wasn't there. We can get into that. Or option 2 is he's cooked. Like this is an older pitcher that just had major arm surgery, who never really had velocity to begin with. And this is just the guy that he is. Not to say that we have to be entirely in one camp or the other, but how do you sort of navigate those 2 pathways when it comes to evaluating Kershaw tonight?
I mean, I think it's fair to be skeptical. I get maybe is the best word I could kind of come up with right now. Hesitant in trusting him, perhaps. But yes, fact of the matter is, it is only his second start after a shoulder surgery. Yeah. And his velocity, frankly, is at the level that it's been at before the surgery. Yeah. Right. For the at least to my eye test, maybe the actual numbers are going to be slightly different, and perhaps he's lost 1 tick or something. But it's not like he was throwing 95 last year before the surgery. Right. And so, considering that he's still hovering around 90 to 91, maybe can get it up to 92, as Oral Hershiser would say if he's feeling froggy. That sort of I think can inspire some confidence in look. It is only his second start back since having surgery. He was on the 6-day IL. Even his rehab assignment was really short. He had the 1 start, then had to be shut down, then only made 2 starts, and then came back. So, and perhaps it is, just wanting the glass to be half full. I think that's I know you live in that space. I tend to, just because I think it's worse, just constantly being miserable and expecting doom every time. So there are reasons, I think, to believe that Kershaw can get back to the pitcher that he was before he hurt himself last year. And I think that's where I'm not saying, Kershaw was good 5 years ago and that's what he's trying to recapture. Right. You have to go back to last season before, the second half, more or less, because the All-Star break was when the shoulder stuff really popped up. And that's not that far. That's not that far back.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think, I think you can live in both of those 2 camps. I think there is perfect reason to be skeptical that a guy like Kershaw is going to come back from the shoulder surgery that he just had. And it's very possible that 4 or 5 games from now, it becomes abundantly clear that the guy we saw tonight, who through 2 innings had 1 whiff on 18 swings. I think he only had 2 whiffs all night. I've got a couple charts we'll throw up here in a second. Just was not getting swing and miss, was not getting kind of what you would hope for out of it again after having 6 strikeouts in the first game. And so I think there's a really reasonable chance that that's how it plays out. I also think when I evaluate this game in particular, I'm looking at a guy who just had no command. And so this wasn't a matter of all of his stuff was necessarily like a mess and getting pounded. It was a lot of soft contact. But if you watched this game, like if you actually paid attention to what you saw from Clayton Kershaw, it was a fastball that he had no clue where it was going. Here's a spray chart, if you will. This is courtesy of Baseball Savant, that you can pull this off of their page. But like these are his pitches. Look at the red fastballs. They're everywhere. They're all over the place. Nothing is consistent here. And so as you followed this game, this was a guy who didn't know where his fastball was going. He couldn't locate it. And if you're facing Clayton Kershaw and he can't locate his fastball, then what are you doing? You're sitting on the slider. You're just sitting on it. And look where the slider was. Look how many of those yellow dots are just middle, which is exactly where it was. So he wasn't getting any swing and miss, I think in part because he couldn't command the fastball. And because he couldn't command the fastball, they're sitting on the slider. So again, I'm not saying you should be optimistic. I'm saying if you wanted to be optimistic, the route that you would go was, well, if he learns how to command the fastball, which you probably expect him to not have great command after how long he's been out in the shoulder surgery he just had. If he can command the fastball a little bit more and just keep people honest with the fastball. Again, I'm not saying that's going to happen, Matt. I'm just saying that's the optimistic argument for Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah, I think there is a path to him being an effective pitcher. And I know if people happen to watch our live show where we did the bold predictions, I know you threw one out for his ERA. I think is that in the bold predictions? Yeah, his ERA and that like how good of a pitcher like there's a path to him getting to that. Again, I don't want to speak for you, but I think it is safe to say like you and I aren't sitting here saying Kershaw's going to get back to Cy Young, MVP, completely dominant form. Like that ship has sailed. Shoulder surgery or not, he is too far deep into his Hall of Fame career that, that's just unreasonable at this point. Everybody goes through that. But again, like I do believe that, there are a few things here and there where he could get back to just being, a good quality, serviceable, whatever you want to call him, pitcher for the Dodgers. And I know that in his mind, the competitor that he is, he obviously wants to, give them 7 shutout innings all the time. But the reality is that's probably not necessarily in the cards for him anymore. But I don't think that this one start definitely means, that he can't be successful or can't find his way, navigate his way through starts and lineups. Yeah. Second half last year, he pitched with torn ligaments in his shoulder. And there were some rough spots, definitely. Like he certainly had less margin for error. But there also were times where he had kind of started to figure it out. I think you and I went into the postseason thinking like, okay, like he's figured out a way to kind of pitch with his diminished, and I'll use the big buzzword, stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, the NLDS was just a complete disaster for everybody. But again, like there's a possibility, there are ways that Kershaw can still be effective for the Dodgers. And I don't think that that's too much of a stretch to say or to predict. Now, am I guaranteeing it? No, obviously.
Yeah. And again, if we're seeing the same thing from Kershaw 3 weeks from now, then it's going to be, there's not going to be a second option for how to interpret this. I just think where we're at in the season, you can still leave the door cracked. And again, I know lots of people want to slam that door shut, and look, you might end up being right. I'm just saying there's a roadmap to him figuring this out, to your point, to be serviceable, not to be a 2.0 ERA guy, but to be a 3.5 ERA guy, which I think was my sort of bold prediction. Here's some more metrics here. Not metrics. This is just basic eye test stuff, I guess, Matt. Balls, strikes, called strikes. So this is stuff that everybody can understand. But 28 balls tonight, 14 called strikes, just 2 swinging strikes, 19 balls that were fouled off. So, I mean, just look at that. Like 21 times they swung and either 2 times they swung and missed, and 19 times were fouled off out of that stretch. 9 were outs and 11 were base hits. And so to see that many swings, 41 swings, and for only 2 of them to be swinging strikes, clearly not what you want to see from Clayton Kershaw. One of those you could see was on the changeup, a pitch that he doesn't even like to throw, but that might have been his best pitch of the night. So there was some soft contact, which again, I think was encouraging, but I watched the first inning and it was like, hey, 4 ground balls, because Gavin Lux makes the error. And I'm saying, yeah, soft contact is a good thing, but if you keep giving up soft contact, eventually it's going to come through. And if you're not missing any bats, if you're not striking anybody out, then it's no good. I think the stat was he broke the longest streak in Major League history of most consecutive games with a strikeout, which is kind of a crazy stat when you think about like just to start games and have strikeouts in all of them is insane. Somebody was joking there was one at bat where maybe he got jobbed on a strike three, but that streak deserved to be snapped tonight, Matt. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have it tonight. And I'm not going to sit here and say that he pitched well and it was all bad luck. Like, he didn't. And I'm sure Blake is down in San Diego. We'll have Kershaw's post-game video up here shortly. And I'm sure he's just going to, own up to just didn't have much feel. I mean, you put up that his spray chart, his location, then just, the lack thereof. Like, it was obvious.
Yeah, absolutely. Outside of Kershaw, I mean, the offense, again, Matt, I think deserves some of the blame here. Dylan Cease, obviously very good. It's been on one of the most incredible stretches of the season. I think it was 24 scoreless innings at one point. Obviously, the no-hitter mixed in. 5 2/3, just 3 hits, 1 earned, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts for him. And then the Padres bullpen came in behind with 3 1/3 perfect innings, no hits, no walks, no runs, and 5 strikeouts. Gavin Lux goes 1 for 3 with a double and a walk. Nick Ahmed had the only other hit for Nick Ahmed had a hit and Jason Hayward had a hit. Those were the only 3 Dodgers to have hits tonight. So bad news for the offense. Let's get to a couple of the super chats here. Gabriel Fernandez says reinforcements needed. Any updates on all the injuries? I feel horrible for Kershaw. We're going to get to injuries in just a second, so hold that thought. But you mentioned Kershaw's press conference. Man, do I hope this isn't as depressing as Walker Buehler's press conference. Like, I don't think we're in the same place we were with Walker Buehler quite yet. But I just, it's going to be defeated. And like you said, kudos to Kershaw because he goes out there and wears these. I mean, like, I don't know what he's going to say other than he wasn't very good. Keep in mind, Walker Buehler, by the way, this season had like 5 or 6 starts. So Kershaw's second start of the season, but that's not going to be a pretty video, Matt.
No, yeah, I'm sure there'll be plenty of visible frustration. And, honestly, like, this type of performance, I think he surprised me in his first start back. Like, I thought this would be more in line with what his first start should have been, just the time off, what he's coming back from. And so, yeah, again, it is still early. Reinforcements are certainly needed. Ahmed Rosario is not with the team yet, but he's on the active roster already, which I thought was a little weird. But he should be hopefully joining them, I think, by this weekend. There are a bunch of injury updates. I don't necessarily want to, like, we're planning to get into that. So I apologize, Gabriel. Thank you for the super chat, but we'll get to the injury updates definitely, because there's a lot of good news on Max Muncy, Yamamoto, Mookie Betts. So there's Bruce Dargratterall, Michael Groves. So there's kind of a quick teaser for you.
Yeah. Hawaiian Kira, another super chat. What's going to be the impetus for the offense to start showing up? We mentioned it, just 3 hits tonight. And, sometimes you can say good pitching beats good hitting, but this is a couple nights in a row for the Dodgers with an off day on Monday and another off day tomorrow where just slow to get going. And even the guys that you would expect, I mean, Gavin Lux continues to stay hot. He has the double that gave them the only run. He walked a second time, so he reaches base twice. But other than Gavin Lux, the other guys reach base just 4 times in 31 plate appearances. So that's not going to get the job done.
No, definitely not. And I think, honestly, the impetus, and I know people don't want to hear it, but it's going to be getting Freddie Freeman back, getting Mookie Betts back. Like, yeah. It's significant. In Freeman with this group, you could see, and Ohtani is sometimes falls into his own little lulls. But considering all the other guys that were out already, for Freeman to be away from the team, which, again, like, no criticism or faulting him. Like, we said last night, he needs to take all the time he needs with his family. But when you do remove him from this lineup, the way the injuries had already decimated the group, like, it makes it a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a point that's important to make. Like, think about the guys that are not in this lineup for the Dodgers. And I know there are lots of teams. Fernando Tatis isn't playing for the Padres, but for the Dodgers to be missing the guys they're missing and to be replacing them with the guys that they're replacing them with, it's just not getting it done right now. And look, the Padres put out a better team today and whooped the Dodgers, and the Dodgers got what they deserved today. And, they get the off day tomorrow, and you just sort of hope they wake up on Friday and things are a little bit different. But I'm not sure any of us have seen anything out of the hitting, the starting pitching, or the bullpen, Matt, that makes us believe things are going to be better. I'll give one exception to that rule. Michael Kopech, who pitched tonight. I mean, that was the one bright spot, 3 strikeouts for the Dodgers' newest reliever. The final pitch, he threw 100.6 miles an hour.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a lot of what Michael Kopech, what you're hoping the Dodgers were hoping they're getting and trading for him. He wasn't misfiring with a lot of his pitches. Some of them were out of the zone, but hey, the Padres chased a couple times, so he benefited from that. But yeah, certainly impressive. I know fans wanted to see him in the game last night, but he had just joined the team yesterday. I think they're like that's a hard spot to be in, especially for it to then be a high leverage situation
Yeah.
that they would have been throwing him into. So Dave Roberts did say before the game tonight that there was a plan to get Kopech in, regardless of what the score was, just because I think it had been 4 or 5 days since he had pitched.
5 days.
So they wanted to make sure that they took care of that. And to your point, you mentioned kind of the off days, and the Dodgers are struggling right now, and maybe there's not necessarily reason for optimism. I will say, and maybe these will be my famous last words, I'm not going to necessarily be on the postgame show Friday, so I won't have to see if I'm wrong.
I will.
But the schedule is bringing up the Oakland A's, and so that might be what works in the Dodgers' favor.
With no Mason Miller, their best player on the injured list with a broken finger. This was a great stat from Eric Steven. This is the first losing month the Dodgers have had since March/April of 2018. I just want the first losing month they have had since March/April of 2018. That's an insane stat. Maybe that's a silver lining in the midst of all this to just say, hey, that's an incredible run that the Dodgers have been on. 11-13, by the way. If they would have won tonight, it would have been yet another non-losing month. The other one, which I think I'm the only person that cares about, Hunter Fiducia got to make his major league debut, popped out at the end. I just, for a guy like that, who's a catcher up there, not a huge prospect, I just love that he's grinding away at AAA, gets his call up to the major leagues. And I know it was like the last out in an absolute blowout, but that was a positive one for me, because I just remind myself these people are humans, and it's cool to make your major league debut, and everybody can be depressed, but Hunter Fiducia is not depressed tonight.
Yeah, you went on a little bit of a heater. You interviewed all these guys out in Reno with OKC, and just one by one they started coming up to the Dodgers.
Except for Trey Sweeney. Poor Trey Sweeney got sent to he got sent out.
Well, hey, maybe it'll be a better opportunity for him.
Maybe he'll get called up. Maybe he'll be in the major leagues, and we'll add another guy to the major league call-up list.
Maybe. For Fiducia, great moment. Unfortunate that it needed to come kind of in the circumstances that it did. My suspicion is his time on the roster is probably coming to a close in the next day or two. So I think that was certainly pretty deliberate by Dave Roberts to at least get him the at-bat.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's get to those injury updates we mentioned earlier. Some critical injury updates on Max Muncy, Michael Grove, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Brusdar Graterol, Ryan Brazier, among others. Let's start with Max Muncy. He's the biggest one. We all know what the record is basically been since he has been out. He's a key part of this Dodgers lineup. It's been up, it's been down. He's swinging, he's not swinging. He's starting, he's not starting. There was a breakthrough was one phrase that was used. He, quote, crossed a hurdle in his rehab. I guess he saw a chiropractor, got something adjusted, Matt. He's going to start swinging a bat tomorrow. But there seems to be some optimism amongst the Dodgers, sort of miraculously out of nowhere.
Yeah, this is a truly remarkable situation, because it was only days ago that Dave Roberts described Muncy's recovery as, quote, pretty stagnant. And prior to that, there had been several updates of, look, every time he tries to start swinging a bat, there's some pain, some discomfort. He could, throw the ball. He could field grounders. He could do some plyo work. But swinging a bat, like not even hitting pitches, just swinging, just taking dry swings caused some pain, which was obviously pretty concerning, because, oblique injuries can certainly be tricky. But for that that one act to continue to be what was holding him up, like it's a pretty important hurdle that he can clear. Dodgers had him do at least, I think, 1 or 2 MRIs to see what was going on. Dave said that there was, those didn't show any changes from like the original strain or any new injury or anything. So Muncy himself, they were at a loss. And, I've been on here saying, hey, like, I don't think he's coming back this season. Like, just everything that they're saying, the way things have been going. Yeah. Fortunately, I guess all he needed was a trip to the chiropractor. I'm sure the Dodgers are probably kicking themselves, thinking we should have done this sooner. And Muncy could have been back in the lineup, these past few weeks at least. But yeah, at least now he's trending up. So they should have him certainly for the postseason. He will have to go on a rehab assignment just because he's been out for so long. But now, the next step is just to make sure. Dave said that Muncy was going to start swinging the bat again on Thursday. So as long as that goes well, which everybody is anticipating will be the case, then hopefully a rehab assignment is around the corner, and then he's back in the lineup, 3 weeks from now, maybe a month from now?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be the hope. And again, when we're talking about a lineup like the one they threw out tonight, I think by the end of the game, other than Will Smith, it was basically 8 guys in the field that you wouldn't draw up, let's say, on the back of a napkin if you were drafting teams. So that's the good news. Max Muncy crossed a hurdle again, was the quote, the exact phrase from Dave Roberts on that one. Mookie Betts, another update here. Taking batting practice, could be ramping up soon. I thought the more important update on Mookie Betts was he might not need a rehab assignment. They basically said if we can get him in some simulated games, we might just call him back up. Now, nobody knows what position he's going to be playing when he gets back up here, and part of that might depend on if Tommy Edman is back or not back. But the good news is he's ramping up soon and not needing a rehab assignment. I mean, that spells, Matt, in the next 2-ish weeks, we could see Mookie Betts.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one thing, even before kind of this latest update, just as Mookie had started doing a little bit more, Dave was kind of pointing to the middle of August as sort of the target for him to return. And yeah, I mean, it's a little surprising that he won't necessarily need a rehab assignment, but every player is different. And somebody, the veterans, and even in Muncy's case, like I'm sure the Dodgers, talked to him about it and said, they're not just going to send him out. They did the same thing with Jason Hayward. But yeah, so what the biggest, like, as you mentioned, the biggest question with Mookie is going to be what position he plays when he comes back. Dave Roberts did say that, right now it looks like shortstop, but nothing is set in stone.
Yeah, outfield, baby. I'm telling you, it's the outfield. He's coming to play right field, baby. Get used to it. Some more updates here. Michael Grove, expected to be the first of these relievers that is due back. Could be back as soon as next homestand. The negative side for Michael Grove is the Dodgers have looked at his track record as a multi-inning reliever and somehow decided they're going to keep doing that to the guy. His new nickname might just be Wear It. And we all know I like the guy. He's been on our show a bunch of times. He's been terrible as a multi-inning reliever. He started to be really, really good as a single-inning reliever towards the end of that last stretch with Yarbrough gone. That's Michael Grove's role. He did get 4 outs yesterday in Oklahoma City. So I guess he's ramping himself back up to be prepared for this weekend, but we'll see how it goes. I mean, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm hoping that this is just a matter of like needing to get through the regular season. And so he needs to be the multi-inning reliever. And if he is on the playoff roster, hopefully that's not necessarily still the role that they envision for him. Because yeah, I mean, I don't get it. And I feel bad. I've expressed this in the past. I feel like some of Grove's development over the past couple of years has been stunted by just how much, back and forth the Dodgers have sort of done with him in terms of a role. And I get it, a young pitcher, like you're glad to be up on the team. And so you're willing to do anything. And Grove has openly said, if they need me to start, I'll start. If it's in the bullpen, if it's multiple innings, I'll do it. But the numbers don't lie, as Jay-Z has told us several times. And so just seeing Grove and them insisting on him being a multi-inning relief pitcher is just like, man, like at some point, like, let's get this corrected.
Yeah, they say some guys get treated with kid gloves. Michael Grove has not been treated with kid gloves. Called up straight from Double-A. Starter, reliever, multi-inning reliever, single inning, multi-inning. And so, to his credit, like you said, he's tried to make it work. So that's the Michael Grove. Ryan Brazier and Brusdar Graterol continue to rehab. No real update on those guys other than that Grove is going to be up first, and it's going to be this weekend. So that's the update there. The last one is Yamamoto, expected to make a bullpen, expected to throw a bullpen session in the next couple of days, which is, I believe, like the biggest sort of positive step we've seen from him yet, correct?
Yeah, definitely. So he's been playing catch and he stretched that out, 100 feet, 200 feet type thing. And that's always great. And he said himself, his shoulder was pain-free. And so that's certainly encouraging. But once you get on a mound, like for better or worse, things can kind of change all of a sudden. And so the plan, Dave Roberts said the plan is still for his bullpen session to be on Friday. I don't think Yamamoto's traveling with the team. He'll probably do it in LA, or perhaps maybe they send him to Camelback Ranch. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, that's going to be a big date. And if he gets through that, and it's not only just, being able to complete that, but then what kind of soreness, how's he feeling the next day or two? If it's just normal stuff, then great, keep going down the path of his rehab process and hopefully coming back at some point this season. If there's a little bit of trouble, then I don't know if we'll hear about it right away. Probably not, would be my guess. But if there is a little bit of trouble, then the Dodgers internally are going to have to start coming up with some contingency plans pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess the one other injury update that we should mention here is Jack Flaherty. Expected to start this weekend. There was a funny moment where he was asked by reporters and he basically said, they were like, hey, when are you starting? And he's like, look, if nobody's told you, I'm not telling you. I know when I'm starting. And then I think it was just a minute few minutes later, Dave Roberts announced that he would be starting Saturday. So he kind of brushed off all injury reports about this whole Ken Rosenthal Yankees thing, to be expected. Even if Ken Rosenthal was right, he wasn't going to be like, you know what, my back is super messed up. But I guess positives for the Dodgers. We'll see him on Saturday. And, with him, Gavin Stone, and River Ryan on the agenda for this weekend, that's a nice little palate cleanser, something to give you a little optimism after what we saw the last couple of days.
Yeah, it should be fun. I didn't expect, like you said, I didn't expect Flaherty to say too much about his back. I mean, it could ultimately end up being, much ado about nothing, which I know you and I sort of agreed is not only a possibility, but perhaps very likely. So yeah, it'll be nice. It'll be interesting to see the three right-handers get to take their turn, back to back to back this week.
Yeah. So some good injury updates there from the Dodgers. Again, Yamamoto, Muncy, Mookie, I would say are all very positive as far as maybe speeding up whatever timeline you had yesterday. It feels like those are either on track or ahead of schedule. Michael Grove, some bullpen help on the way, and then Gratterall and Brazier, not necessarily setbacks, but just an acknowledgement. Like Gratterall, they said, is basically in spring training mode still. So even though he's already made 8 appearances, I would expect he's going to get 2 or 3 more. And Ryan Brazier has only made 2. So we'll see with those guys. But there are the injury updates. We did have another super chat here. A couple, excuse me. Zip code 0 says, are the top 3 starters for October Glasnow, Yamamoto, Flaherty, if everyone is healthy? I would say this is a pretty clear yes. I don't know if we're going in order here. I would probably have Flaherty ahead of Yamamoto if we want to be particular about order. And then, we kind of batted around who the number 4 starter is. You, me, and was it Scott? Or was it just you and me?
Yeah, I don't remember. It might have been Anthony.
Maybe it was me, Scott, and Daniel. But basically, I think we all had Kershaw, River, Ryan, and Gavin Stone in some order. Obviously, tonight, I think Kershaw's at the bottom of that group of 3. If we're going to overreact to tonight or just properly react to tonight, River Ryan probably trending up. Gavin Stone maybe trending slightly down, but starting from a higher place. So I would go Glasnow, Flaherty, Yamamoto, if all healthy, and then kind of take your pick, Gavin Stone or River Ryan.
Yeah, I'd have to. I think these are definitely the top 3 right now. I agree with you. I think the order would probably be flipped. I forget how it always works, but your game 2 starter technically should be able to start game 4, right? In the best of 5.
I think they've changed the schedule, I believe, where everybody's going to have to go to a 4-man rotation. Right.
But the issue is with, I see what you're saying. Sorry. Okay. So only your game 1 is the only one who would be brought back in a short series.
I think that the way they've structured it, that it's now like you're going to have to go for 4 starters. I haven't looked at the NLDS schedule in a little while, but I just remember that being a storyline that you are going to need 4 legit starters because the gap between game 1 and game 4 isn't enough to bring somebody back.
Yeah. So I guess, regardless, the easiest way to answer this is wherever Yamamoto is guaranteed, like his spot in the order is guaranteed to only come up once, that's probably where he's going to be starting. And so if it doesn't matter, then yeah, perhaps he's game 2. But if your game 2 starter potentially can start game 4, then I think we're going to see Yamamoto in game 3 because the Dodgers have already set the plan that he's not pitching more than once in a playoff series.
Yeah. I think if I'm looking at this correctly, I think basically guys would have to come back on 3 days rest, which is unlikely. So there you go. Richard with another super chat here. This was a 10-80-10 loss, 10% sad, 80% don't know you lost, 10% happy you lost. New arrivals this weekend, turn the page, new game. Not totally sure I understand the math here, but I do think there's some validity to new arrivals this weekend, turn the page, new game. I know it feels awful because we only play twice in 4 days, because it was the Padres in San Diego, because the divisional lead is down to 4.5. But I do think, maybe it's only 10% or maybe it's 15%, but there is something to it's July 31st. It's still a 4.5 game lead on the division. There's an off day tomorrow. And once this team gets fully healthy, it's going to be a different group than the one we saw tonight.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but yes, like this Dodgers team right now is just, it's kind of being pieced together.
Yeah, absolutely. 300 with another super chat. Team needs to get healthy. You just hope the wheels don't come off the bus for another 3 to 4 weeks until they do. I think this is a totally fair take and one that I agree with in a lot. Like, my concern is not the long-term future of this team, i.e. the playoffs. Is it possible? How ugly might it get in the next couple of weeks? I know the Phillies are due up here pretty soon. Obviously, the A's this weekend would be nice to right the ship, but I do think there's some validity to, we just gave you all the positive updates, but Yamamoto, Mookie, Muncy, none of those are guys coming in the next 2 weeks. Edman doesn't appear to be coming until, the middle of August either. And so Freddie Freeman, TBD, very undetermined, obviously, and rightfully so. So as bad as the lineup looked, as bad as the bullpen looked, as bad as the starting rotation has looked, there aren't reinforcements around the corner there, Matt.
Well, hey, no, Ahmed Rosario and Kevin Kiermaier potentially are coming in this weekend. But yeah, I mean, it could get kind of challenging, but we've also, look, it's baseball. Like as bad and as bleak as things seem, like how many times have we, sent out today's lineup and everybody is flipping out about the order and who's playing and who's hitting where and this and that. And then that group goes and scores 8 runs and the Dodgers win. Like it's fun. You just never really know. So honestly, I know that the division race is a little bit tighter now with both the Diamondbacks and the Padres, sort of creeping on the Dodgers a little bit. So that's something to keep an eye on. But other than that, I mean, yes, it is just a matter of, kind of biding some time, maybe going 500, a little better than 500 until you start to get some of your stars back.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see. I mean, look, we were on here last night saying, come on, 5.5 game lead in the division, 4.5 smaller than 5.5, Matt.
Now you start looking at the standings now a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else from tonight's game that you want to touch on before we start taking some questions here, Matt? I mean, again, it's Kershaw stunk. The offense stunk. Kopech was cool. That was kind of those would be my 3 headlines.
Yeah, I think hopefully people will remember once we're done here, go tweet Blake and ask him what he put on his glizzies the last 2 nights that he had, and use the word glizzy specifically. Blake loves it. So just make sure you do that. He'll be happy to respond to everybody.
Also ask him what trash fast food establishment he visited after the game last night that he claims is good. That's horrific. And Matt and I are in alignment on how horrific the place he went to last night is. It's not worth your time.
No.
Grayson says they should have gotten more pitchers at the deadline. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel you and I touched on this, and I like on the surface, yes. Like I a couple weeks ago, a month ago, like I kept stressing, hey, I think the Dodgers that yes, they need the 1 impact starter, but they really need 2 starters just to sort of cover their bases because of all the question marks in the rotation. But then you started seeing what it took, to get Kikuchi, and the Dodgers did pretty well with Flaherty, and whether that had to do with his back injury or the Tigers misplaying their leverage, probably a little bit of both. But as much as, like I said last night in our live show, as much as the Dodgers did need a second starter, I don't know if there was anybody out there that would have made sense to give up what it was going to cost just because of the way the market ended up bearing out. So yes, in a perfect world, they would have acquired somebody else along with Flaherty. But if it would have meant, needing to trade Dalton Rushing for a rental or, something like that, like it wasn't going to happen.
Also to the point, like right now we're feeling this in the world in which guys are back in 2 weeks. They're not going to have room on the roster for all of these players. And so that's the tricky part. And maybe the answer is they should have given up on some of these bullpen arms. Like maybe you're just out on Trinan, or you're out on Evan Phillips, or you're out on Alex Vesia, but they simply don't have roster space for all of these guys. So they were either going to have to DFA some guys that are currently on that have been, trustworthy guys, even as recently as 2 weeks ago, or they were going to have to kind of ride out this rough little 2-week stretch. Hope when you get Gratterall, Brazier, Grove back, Kopech built in, maybe Evan Phillips, Vesia, Trinan, and Hudson go get a vacation somewhere for a couple of weeks. Arm comes back recharged. So short term, I think I understand where this is coming from. I just don't think long term, if you're playing for a World Series and that kind of a thing, I think it'd be tricky to fit all these guys onto a roster. Noah wants to know, how do you rank Dave's managing this year so far? Battled injuries. They're winning the division. I'll let you take this one first, Matt. How do you think Dave?
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. This is the job of a host. I see you spotting up at the 3-point line right now. We know you've got the best shot in the Dodger Blue Lakers Nation world. And so, I'm white chocolate over here, just throwing it out to the corner so Matthew Moreno can knock this one down.
I give him a B minus. Injuries have, I know it's not an excuse. Injuries have been a factor. I think there have been times where, he hasn't necessarily helped himself. And a couple of them are recently with, we discussed Robleski and River Ryan being taken out of their starts, but also they weren't completely indefensible considering where those 2 pitchers are at in their careers. So yeah, and I do see, I think Aaron Vaughn agrees with me, B minus. Somebody gave him, was it Michael who gave him a D?
Couple
Yeah.
Ds, 3 Ds.
Yeah. I mean, I think a B minus is fair.
Yeah.
But also, look, frankly, like I don't really care what Dave Roberts does in the regular season either. Like,
Yeah.
I don't really care what necessarily the Dodgers do. I can see that there is a benefit to winning the NL West. I think there is value in that. But whether they do that with 92 wins or 99 wins, like really makes no difference to me right now. And ultimately, like Dave's not going to be judged by if Dave Roberts, and I'll flip this question on its head towards Noah in the chat and you, if Dave Roberts, did a job that we all thought was an A+ during the regular season,
Right. What difference?
and then fails in the playoffs,
Yeah.
is anybody going to point to, well, hey, he was at an A level during the year and then just had some bump? Like, no. So I can understand the question. It is fun to discuss and sort of kick around, but it's also not something that I'm going to get hung up on.
Yeah, I just think like last night's the perfect example. I do not blame Dave Roberts for Blake Treinen giving up 2 home runs. I don't blame Dave Roberts for James Outman swinging straight through 3 fastballs at his shoulders. Like, I don't think he had other options than those 2 guys that were dramatically better. People are calling for Honeywell. Honeywell gives up a run tonight. So that's just the nature of it. Sometimes the guy doesn't have any bullets left in his gun and you can't get mad at him that he didn't shoot anybody. So I think that's where we're at. That's where I'm at with Dave Roberts.
Yeah. And real quick, just to tie it up, because you mentioned something, Dave Roberts wasn't out there throwing the pitches that Blake Treinen did. He actually sort of like, I don't want to say he threw the pitching coaches and game planning under the bus today, but the video is up before his pregame kind of media scrum. He acknowledged that, yes, the Dodgers do have to look at and make sure that they're not being too predictable. As much as you want to go to a pitcher's strengths, if the opponent knows, and I brought it up last night, Treinen his last 2 games was hurt on first pitch.
Yeah.
If the opponent knows what's coming and they're sitting on that, then you need to do a little bit of adjusting.
Yeah, a couple more super chats here, and then I do want to get to some Clayton Kershaw post-game quotes because those are starting to come through. Zip Code 0 with another super chat. Hey, folks, as always, we appreciate you. Oh, I joked with Matt. I didn't know anybody was going to show up tonight because, it's to sit through that whole game and come here. But over 1,200 people on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter that have been joining us or have joined us at some point tonight. We greatly appreciate it. All these super chats. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Zip Code 0 wants to know, if Flaherty performs, does he get signed long-term to replace Buehler? Look, I've said kind of all along that the Dodgers actually have a ton of starting pitching that is under contract for next year. Ohtani will be back pitching. Glasnow, Yamamoto, the prospects, River Ryan, Justin Robleski, Landon Knack, Gavin Stone. I mean, in theory, Dustin May and Tony Gonsolin might still be alive and pitching then. Who knows? Dustin May don't count on anything. Emmett Sheehan, Nick Frasso are all guys that theoretically will be healthy and pitching. That's like 11 starting pitchers. That said, Matt, if Jack Flaherty's really good for the next 2.5 months and he's a local kid, I imagine they're going to sign him.
I agree. And I think you need to, because as much as, again, like on paper, the Dodgers have plenty of depth, plenty of options, but 85% of those, there's some question marks with them. And so I do think that if Flaherty performs well in any capacity, that you certainly re-sign him and I think he'd be open to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm with you. I mean, that was my thing of trading for him, is you're not guaranteed to get the extra few years, but the reality is with a guy like Flaherty that if you do go out and get the extra few years, then you sort of are acquiring a pitcher for 4 or 5 years, but only having to pay the 2-month rental price, which I think is obviously significant there. Good vibrations, playing like poop, only 2 games out of the best record. The Phillies have the best record in the National League. They're 65-43. The Dodgers are 63-46. The Phillies have lost 4 in a row. They are 3-7 in their last 10. The Braves are 4-6 in their last 10, if you're curious about that type of thing. Basically, the only teams above 500 in their last 10 games are in the National League West. It's the Padres, the Diamondbacks, and the Giants. So not helpful for the Dodgers, but the Padres are 9-1 in their last 10. Dodgers now 5-5 in their last 10. So I do think there is something to this. Like, nobody's panicking about the Phillies. Their divisional lead is 2 games higher. But they've lost 4 in a row. They're 3-7 and we're focused on our team. So I get it, but it's interesting perspective, which I appreciate. Shout out to Ian Chin for the super chat. If you've got a question that you want us to answer, go ahead and throw that in the chat and we'll get to that. We appreciate the support as always. Hawaiian Kira, sometimes we need to be talked off the ledge after games like this. What is lineup when everybody is back? Let's talk positivity, Matt. Everybody's healthy. Ohtani, Mookie, Freddie, top 3. Will Smith, Teoscar Hernandez, Max Muncy. Sounds pretty dang good. That top 6 sounds pretty dang good to me right now. Look, Gavin Lux, if he's hitting the way he's hitting, maybe in that 7 hole, I'm still not putting him in the category of the top 6, but if he's the 7 hole, if we're going against a righty, then I think you've got Ahmed Rosario and Tommy Edman as the other 2 guys. So, I mean, if we're talking Lux, Rosario, and Edman as your bottom 3, maybe Edman's batting 9th, probably the worst hitter in that group, but 30 steal potential, as well as a guy that has been basically a league average hitter. Rosario's been above average, both against lefties and righties. And then I would swap Gavin Lux and a guy like maybe Andy Pages if you're going against lefties, because Pages has been terrible against righties. Lux has been terrible against lefties. Rosario can play second base and right field. So that's how I would fill out my lineup card, Matt. I don't know if you have any changes there.
Not really. I mean, that all works for me. The Dodgers, what's clear is they have a lot of optionality, which they certainly love.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's funny just how, I won't say how quickly they can get back to that level, but really, like, you are expecting that at some point this season. And again, like, winning the division does matter. And so they do need these guys back, preferably sooner rather than later. But ultimately, if the Dodgers were a wild card team for whatever reason, all we've heard is, not all we've heard, a lot of fans have said, what is winning the division? It doesn't do you any good, especially now with the expanded postseason. So maybe they go in as the wild card team this year and then get hot just because everybody's back.
Yeah, there you go. And I mean, look, I just named kind of the Ted Man group that's in the starting lineup. And then keep in mind that behind that, you've got guys like Miguel Rojas, potentially Austin Barnes, obviously the one of the best hitting catchers in baseball, from what I gather, Matt. Austin Barnes. Those are the next 2. And then maybe it's Chris Taylor, maybe it's Kevin Kiermaier, Kevin Biggio, who knows? Kevin Biggio, can we just say real quick, pretty dang impressive play at first base. He's been good.
Yeah, he's been really good. It surprised me. Like, I thought it was just like, okay, he's kind of the best of the bunch, and so that's why he's been there. But going back to, the Astros series, once he started filling in, he's made a few nice plays there.
Yeah, and even in the bullpen, look, I think the bullpen is going to be the area that scares us the most, because you've got to project. Like, you could say Phillips, Trinan, Hudson, Vesia. Are we getting the guys of today? Are we getting the guys of a couple weeks ago? But if you start with those 4, you mix in Kopech the way that he pitched tonight. Joe Kelly looked pretty good tonight. Anthony Banda has been good. Honeywell has been good. You're starting to Gratterall. If you get anything from Gratterall and he comes back, Justin Robleski, I think, becomes a left-handed relief weapon. Who knows? I've joked about Bobby Miller being a right-handed relief weapon, throwing 101 miles an hour. So I think you can start to see the pieces there. And then if your 4th pitcher is either Stone or River Ryan, again, I think you can start to see the pieces of a postseason roster that gives you some confidence. And it's not to say we're going to get there and all those guys are going to be healthy or even trustworthy. But as much information as we know today, again, you can pencil something out that you shake your head and say, pretty good, pretty good. What is it? Curb Your Enthusiasm? Pretty good, Yeah,
I think, was it you and Greg who said that the offense is going to just hit their way to a bunch of wins anyway?
7 runs a game.
Yeah, there you go.
So 7 runs a game.
Who cares what your pitching staff looks like?
Yeah, River Ryan balling out. I did 7 runs a game with Glasnow, Flaherty, Yamamoto, River Ryan. Come on, Matt. Banda and Kopech closing games out after River Ryan gives you 7 innings in decisive game 4.
I can't see how that's not the script.
Yeah. Noah says it was Dave's fault that Ohtani ran home and got caught. Just kidding. Weird play, because Dino holds him, which obviously if he doesn't hold him, he ends up scoring. And somebody tweeted, like, the way this offense is playing, maybe just send Ohtani and hope for the best. He holds him, and then Ohtani makes a read that was obviously the wrong read, gets thrown out at home. Didn't matter, but just quintessential Dodgers, it feels like, at this point in the season.
Yeah, and part of me wonders if maybe either subconsciously or consciously, like, the Dodgers aren't going to put Ohtani in a bang play like that at the plate where something can potentially go horribly wrong. I know Dino, everybody was upset at Dino Evil, and he's had a few, I think, blunders, maybe decisions that he would probably take back, but I think it's also just something magnified. Like, you remember when he messes up, right? When he doesn't send somebody and you felt like he should. But when he does force the issue and it works out for the Dodgers, very rarely is it, oh, that was a good job by Dino to test the outfielder, right? Like, it's just one of those things where
he already salvaged his season with the home run derby. Dino's in good graces from now on. So Kevin says Dodgers lose the division, no World Series ? Kevin, you must have missed it. Winning the division, actually, I've been told, is the worst thing you could do. You got to play in that wild card game to have a chance, right?
Yeah, it's only wild card teams that can win a World Series.
Dodgers are playing 4D chess. Get the Padres straight into the NLDS. Dodgers play in the wild card game. Padres get rusty. Dodgers run through it.
Yep.
Write it down in permanent marker,
There you go.
Hey, everybody. We appreciate the super chats. Let's get to some of these post-game quotes. This from our friend David Vassay. Clayton Kershaw on his start tonight, quote, "There were lots of things I was missing, just wasn't executing, wasn't throwing anything where I wanted to and how I wanted to." He goes on, Kershaw said he feels fine, but quote, "I didn't think there was rust, maybe, ... just need to pitch better." Kershaw believes that if he fields the bunt in the second inning, it would have been an easy out. Quote, "I have to make that play. The inning is a lot different. That's a super frustrating mistake." So kind of what I'd expect, wasn't executing, didn't have pitches where I want. As close as you're going to get to Clayton Kershaw making an excuse for himself, saying, "I didn't think I was going to be rusty, maybe," but then quickly changing the subject. So I don't know. I guess I would say pretty standard Clayton Kershaw responses to questions tonight.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I know it doesn't take away the sting of the loss or what his performance was, but rust was to be expected with what he's returning from. And I think, for me, I was surprised by how well he pitched in his first start back. I expected something more along the lines of this tonight. As you mentioned, if we're sitting here, a month from now, 6 weeks from now, and it still has been more of the same, then that's certainly a different conversation. Yeah. I mean, even a month, that's a different conversation.
Yeah, and the Kershaw interview, by the way, will be up on the Dodger Blue YouTube page as well as Dave Roberts. How about this quote from my guy, Will Smith? Quote, "We'll come out of it. No doubt about it. We're the Dodgers. We know we're the best team in baseball. We just have to start playing like it." That's the kind of energy we need, Matt. That's who you go to for a good quote, right? Will Smith, Mr. Charisma, Mr. Thoughtfulness, Mr. Energy. We'll come out of it. No doubt about it. We're the Dodgers. We know we're the best team in baseball. We just have to start playing like it. I want to envision him getting fired up when in reality, that video is just going to be like, well, yeah, we'll come out of it. We're the best team in baseball. So, we'll be fine.
Yeah. If we didn't have the video of it and somebody was trying to attribute this quote to Will Smith, I would say there's absolutely no shot he said something like that. But hey, maybe it's something with the Padres. So let's not forget he did go after Jurickson Profar last time, and that was way out of character for him. And now, here he is saying this. So maybe he just has a thing for San Diego that he needs to needle their fan base a little bit.
I know some people in the chat joking about how boring Will Smith is. I'll never forget, we were at spring training. Everybody knows Will Smith's my guy. He's in the clubhouse. I'm like, "Hey, I want to go get a Will Smith interview." And you all were like, "You're not going to get anything." I'm like, no, come on. I'll ask him a few questions. It'll be good. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. I mean, nice guy. He wasn't being mean. His personality is not like gregarious or charismatic or have a conversation. It's just like as few words as he could possibly use with as little emotion as humanly possible. So hilarious that's the Will Smith quote we got after tonight. So Kershaw, again, maybe some rust he sort of let in, but just said, "Hey, I didn't execute tonight. Wasn't a good night. Makes the error on the bunt," that kind of thing. Let me give a shout out real quick to our sponsor. We'll take questions here in a moment. If you want to start populating the chat, we got about 10 minutes left to take some questions. If you want to throw some fun ones in there just to mix up the vibes in the room a little bit, we could use that as well. But I do want to give a shout out to our friends over at So Rare MLB. You've heard us talking about So Rare throughout the season. They are a new sponsor of ours, and it's an awesome game. It's totally free. I want to emphasize this, totally free. There are options to go and buy cards and sell cards. So if you want to play a little baseball stock market, if you think your Major League Baseball knowledge is where you could make some money, this is your chance. Buy guys low, sell them high. There's markets that you can do that. There's competitions where you can win cards that you can then sell. There's also competitions that just straight up have cash prizes. So it is free if you want, or you can pay to play, whatever you would like. But check out So Rare MLB. Description has the link. You can click that to sign up. Use our link. We'd greatly appreciate it. Again, compete with me, compete with Blake, Matt, Scott over on So Rare MLB. All right, let's get to some questions here to close out the night. Scroll through the comments here. Kenny says, "How many starts will they allow Kershaw to pitch?" I went back and looked because I mentioned it. Walker Buehler got 8 starts this year. So, my guess is they let him get at least 5 would be my guess, Matt.
I mean, yeah, I think they'll just keep starting him as long as he's pretty much healthy.
Yeah.
And I mean, sure, I guess if it gets to there's 2 months left in the regular season. If he struggles for 6 weeks, maybe at that point for the final 2 weeks, if they say, "Okay, this just isn't working, we don't want you to possibly carry this over into the postseason," we'll say your shoulder's hurting or your back is hurting or something. But I mean, he's at least getting, I would I would expect all of August. And again, I'm also just not necessarily expecting every single start to be like this. So if there's some inconsistency and variance, they'll live with that. I think Buehler's a little bit of a different situation for various reasons, and I don't want to that's a long topic.
Yeah. Michael says, when are you going to accept Kershaw isn't going to be on the roster for October? I've said all along he won't be a reliever. So if he doesn't make the starting rotation, which with the emergence of River Ryan and the potential return of Yamamoto obviously looks crowded. My thing with Kershaw is the same with Buehler. It's not a rush to positive judgment. It's just a rush to judgment in general. Give me more starts out of Clayton Kershaw to see where he's at. I think there are reasonable conclusions that can be reached why you might be able to explain some of what we saw tonight away. Whereas there's also reasonable conclusions that would lead you to believe he's cooked, he's washed, the shoulder surgery, that's the it. Guys don't come back from it. So I think all those things are in play. I just tend to believe on July 31st, we don't have to make conclusions about who's going to be on the roster in October, Matt.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't want to sound like a broken record. I'll just leave it at that. I agree with a lot of basically everything you said.
Yeah. David wants to know when the next Food Talk podcast is. I only put this up because you're going out to a special place tonight.
Potentially, yeah. I don't know if it's been decided yet. I think we might be deciding between the Hat and In-N-Out.
Wow, that's an easy choice.
I have to check. Yeah, I'll have to check with Blake.
I love In-N-Out, but the Hat is like special. The Hat is, to me, I guess where I live, maybe the Hat's just as convenient for everybody else as In-N-Out. But the Hat to me is, if given the choice, given my lack of options to go to the Hat, it's that.
I mean, it's definitely not as common or easily found as In-N-Out, but my suspicion is yes, that's where Blake, myself, and Ron, who, if you follow Lakers Nation, you've seen him. He did a lot of writing for us when I was out, but Ron does a lot of Lakers Nation video stuff. So I know a lot of our followers are over there too.
Our guy Daniel with the sneaky trip to Islands today. Yeah. Shout out to Islands. You ever had the chicken tortilla soup from Islands?
Yeah, that's like my favorite thing there. And everybody makes fun of me. Like, you go to Islands and get chicken tortillas. Like, it's really good.
Don't they have the bottomless bowl too? They used to, at least.
Yeah, no, they do. Yeah,
it's fantastic.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Really
you want to talk about salt though? Holy crap! Eric, is it a little funny that Muncy saw a chiropractor for his injury and now feels much better than ever for the past few months, especially since the Dodgers have access to world-class doctors in LA? Eric, I'll speak for Matt and I. I'll let you reach your own conclusions on this one, buddy. I'm not going to fill in any gaps for you. I'm going to let your mind wander wherever you want it to wander on this one, other than to say, let's just be happy that we're getting positive updates on Max Muncy. And, don't ask questions you don't want to know the answer to. That's one of my favorite lines, and it might apply here. Here we go.
There was a super chat. Yeah, there you go.
The real choice is In-N-Out versus the Habit. I hate to burst anybody's bubble here. We're two different weight classes as far as I'm concerned. I think the Habit is like fine. like I wouldn't go out of my way to go to the Habit anywhere.
Yeah, I don't love the burgers at the Habit. Ironically enough, I think the Santa Barbara one that they call it comes on like sourdough or like a cheese toast with avocado. Like, that's good. But more times than not, if I go to the Habit, I get a chicken Caesar salad from there, just because I'm not enamored with their burgers. And so it's not. I'm going to In-N-Out, Five Guys, Carl's Jr., probably the Hat before I even start to the Habit. So sorry, zip code 0.
Yeah. I agree. It's In-N-Out all day, every day on that one. I see people saying the Habit has more choices, which is fine. I don't need more choices. Just give me cheeseburgers and double doubles till I keel over and die, please. Thank you very much. Here you go. This is for you, Matt. I'll read it and I'll just give the floor to you. Why didn't the Dodgers try to play small ball like what the Padres did? There you go, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, if they had tried it last night, maybe they would have at least come away with a series split. Tonight didn't matter what they tried. I think they finished with 3 hits or something, so it wouldn't have mattered. They didn't have guys. They didn't get guys on base to even try to play small ball.
Look, it worked last night. I was so glad as a Dodgers fan that they bunted in the 10th inning. Like that, the way that whole situation worked out, and then I think it was Profar that got walked. Like, it's just it played out exactly, if you're the Dodgers, the way you would want it to. Now, they probably were going to lose no matter what. Solano ends up getting the hit, even though he gets down to 2 strikes. But yeah, I don't know. It's sometimes small ball works. Doesn't mean it's the right decision necessarily. So
here, hold on. I see a good comment here. Can I put it up really quick?
Throw it up.
Oh, where did it go? I lost it. Here we go.
There you go. Yeah. Dave Roberts loves the Habit. Just so many options there, depending on the day. Are you this is an interesting food question. Like, when you go to a place, do you just get the same thing every time?
Yeah, like 9 times out of 10. If it's
Yeah.
a place that I know that I like and I know what I like from that place, then yes. If it's somewhere like Carl's Jr.,
Yeah.
the Big Carl is good.
Oh,
The double Western bacon cheeseburger is probably my favorite. But if I feel bad, if I haven't eaten as well maybe
oh no.
recently, and I don't want to do the bacon, I'll say, okay, I'll just get a Big Carl because it's not as
That's the
guilty,
healthy,
right? Yeah,
the
it's the
healthy
healthy
option.
version. Uh, Something like that. Like I'll change that way.
Yeah.
But for the most part, if it's a restaurant or a place that I like, I stick to just what I get.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Okay, a couple more questions here. What players get DFA'd when the others come back? This has been a topic of conversation that we've had before. I went over this on the show last night. I'll go over it again real quick. I think there's like 10 guys, 12, 11 guys that are locked in offensively if everybody's healthy. Ohtani, Smith, Barnes, Freeman, Lux, Rojas, Edman, Muncy, Teoscar, Rosario, Mookie Betts. I think those guys are all locked in. And that is 3, 5, 7, 8, 11. That's 11. So you can carry 13 position players. You have to carry 13 position players. So there's 2 more spots for Chris Taylor, Andy Pages, Kevin Kiermaier, Kike Hernandez, Jason Hayward, James Outman, Cavan Biggio. You only get 2 spots for those 7 guys. Now, if Muncy's back in 2 weeks, Rosario gets added, Edman's back in 2 weeks, Muncy, let's call it a month. Now, one of these other questions here, which I think is a helpful one, is Rojas done for the year? We don't know, right? Like, we don't really have much info on Rojas's injury.
Yeah, Dave, when he was discussing the different injury updates today, he didn't really have much on Rojas, so it seems like it's going to be a little bit of time. I know initially they tried to make it seem like it would be sort of a quick IL stint, but I was thinking like your flexor and your throwing arm, like that. I know he's not a pitcher, but he needs to throw the ball as an infielder. Like, I don't think he's coming back anytime soon.
Yeah. So my point is, like, let's say everybody's healthy with 3 weeks left in the season. There aren't guys that you can really option in this group. Like, so Taylor, Pages can be optioned. Taylor, Kiermaier, Kike, Hayward, and Biggio. Those are 5 guys. Even if you option Outman, option Pages, get Ahmed off the roster, like, that's still 5 guys, and you've got to option 3 of them. DFA 3 of them. So Taylor, Kiermaier, Kike, Hayward, Biggio. 3 of those guys don't fit on the roster no matter what. I keep saying Kiermaier, I think, is going to be like the odd man out. Blake loves him. So Blake, like, and I understand why. Like, defensively, he's incredible. But Chris Taylor kind of started to figure some things out. Now he's hurt himself. I think Kike and Biggio are fairly easy ones. Hayward, I think they would hate to DFA. So the point is, I think they've got tough choices there. Any predictions you want to make?
Yeah, I mean, not really.
Somebody's going to be hurt
here. Yeah, my prediction is that they're going to use the injured list during the regular season to figure it out, and then once you set your roster for the playoff, you're not having to DFA anybody. Yeah. It's just the matchups, and we like this player over that player. I do think that Kiermaier will probably stick around just because I think this organization really values defense, and he's apparently very elite at it. So I think the glove will carry Kiermaier through the rest of the year. Plus, he's retiring. I don't know if the Dodgers would send him out that way.
Predictions for the Oakland series, they're sweeping them. All wins.
I'll go with that.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. Stone, Flaherty, and River Ryan. Who's losing? Find the L for me, someone. Noah wants to know, is it just me, or is it every time Biggio does good, we lose? There's not a whole lot of Biggio doing good either. So the
Astros, he did okay. I thought in both games against the Astros that he started, and they won on Sunday. So give him that.
Absolutely. All right, let's see if we got any more questions here. We're running up on the hour mark.
Somebody wants me optioned. They tried. I refused it. I have enough service time.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't. He refused the option, and they kept him around. The Phantom IL stint for Moreno, not Phantom, but IL stint, and then came back stronger than ever. So all right, that's it. Okay, so if you go to the hat tonight, what's the order? That we'll just end on this question.
I've been debating. I think hopefully we'll want to share the chili cheese fries because they are big, and I won't finish them by myself. I think I might do a bacon cheeseburger. It sounds
cheeseburger. So you're not a pastrami dip guy?
Not from my pastrami take about the hat is not popular. I know everybody loves it. I know everybody talks it up. I think there are better places to get pastrami.
I just
I'll be
love
nice.
that you like the hat and don't like the thing that
I
separates them and makes them. You could get a cheeseburger just about anywhere.
And I love, like, I really do enjoy pastrami. Like, there are places in LA that make it great, and I enjoy it. Like, I'll drive out to LA specifically just to get that. And so when I heard, the hat, pastrami, this and that, and so I thought, okay, I'll try it. Like, I have just not impressed.
I'm with you on the chili cheese fries. The hat versus Tommy's. Which do you prefer?
Ooh, probably Tommy's.
Yeah, Tommy's is elite.
Yeah, that's like, because Tommy's, it's very, that's very specialized, right? So if you're going to Tommy's, it's because you're craving the chili cheese, and they don't, the hat is good, but they don't make chili cheese as good as Tommy's does.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, everybody. Hey, we appreciate you joining us. This is a tough loss for the Dodgers tonight, 8-1. Not only that, Clayton Kershaw, our guy, looks pretty rough. The offense looks rough. We lose 2 in San Diego. I mean, that's about as bad as you could get. You blow a 5-run lead one night, Matt, and then Kershaw gets lit up the next, both times in San Diego to the Padres. Divisional lead shrinks. So tough stuff there. I was joking with you. Of all days, tomorrow I got invited to do like 3 separate radio hits. So I'll be on Blue Review with Greg Bergman. I'll be on RotoWire Radio with Jeff Erickson, and then I'll be on Scott Kaplan's show as well. So of all the days that I'm going to have to talk about the Dodgers for 2 hours, Matt, why did it have to be tomorrow?
Yeah, that's just how things go. And then we're also going to have an interesting Padres angle on our YouTube channel too.
Yeah, so tomorrow afternoon we'll talk to one of the guys from Kaplan's show, talking about sort of how they're feeling down there. What are the vibes down in San Diego? So it'll be interesting to say the least. So hey, we appreciate everybody again for joining us. It's been fun to chat with you, to process. We appreciate all the super chats. We appreciate all the comments, and we just appreciate the people that we're seeing the same names over and over again on these live shows. It's nice to know that we built a little community of people here that are along for the ride. We don't know where it's going to end. We don't know if it's going up or down or somewhere in between, but we appreciate the fact that we are in it together. That is Matthew Moreno. I am Jeff Spiegel. Folks, enjoy the rest of your night. And of course, as always, go Dodgers.